Hey, it's Colin, and you are listening to the Expert Edge podcast. I was a professional speaker for over a decade, and now I focus on helping coaches, speakers, and course creators to speak and sell on virtual and live stages. The Expert Edge podcast is weekly content focused on helping you build your expert business. We cover marketing, storytelling, sales, communication skills, and so much more. Thanks for taking the time to tune in, and make sure you subscribe and follow us on all our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. Hey, welcome back to the Expert Edge. I'm so stoked that you're here. I just got back from Mexico. We just spent a week in Cabo and it was hot, and I experienced my first hurricane. I tell you what, I got a little bit scared, and I don't know what you've been up to, but yeah, I've been spending the week in Cabo, which was just amazing. And we are back in Newport Beach, hanging out and just doing cool things with the podcast. I wanted to introduce one of my good friends and guest on the Expert Edge, Melissa Ambrosini. Now, Melissa is a multiple times best-selling author. She is a very well-known influencer online. You can check her out, Melissa Ambrosini. I'll put all her links in the show notes. And she's been in the expert industry for over a decade. She's been doing this for a long time, and she has an incredible ability to build an audience, to create engagement. And we really unpack her journey of building her $1 million expert business and how she's helped other people do the same as well. And so I think you're going to gain a lot from this interview with Melissa. What I loved, actually, there was a part where listen out for when we go through really how to move past limiting beliefs and fears in your life. There's a beautiful framework that she takes you through, and definitely take note of that. You don't want to miss that as we go through the podcast. But let's get into it with best-selling author, expert to all things sales, launches, etc., and creating a life of energy and health. Melissa Ambrosini. Melissa Ambrosini, welcome to the Expert Edge.
Thank you, my fellow Aussie. It's so good to be here.
It's great to have you here. I know you've been running your expert business for quite some time now. You've done many things and built a great following. But for those people who are kind of new to what you do, Melissa, can you give us a bit of a kind of like a 30,000 foot picture about kind of what you're about now in the expert industry, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into your story.
Yes. Okay. So what I do now is I have a business called She Launch, and it helps female coaches, consultants, and service providers build their dream business to 6 and 7 figures without burning out. So we talk about niching. We help them create an irresistible high ticket offer. We talk about marketing. We talk about leads. We talk about everything. And another big thing we give them not just all of the strategy, all of the tools, but we really support them with their mindset. So it's probably one of the most comprehensive business and mindset programs out there because, 80% of success is mindset, 20% is tools and strategies. So that's what we do at She Launch. We help female coaches and consultants and service providers build their dream business without the burnout. And that's really important because the burnout piece, because I've been there many times, and I don't want that for anybody else. And I truly believe and love helping women, because I believe that when women are doing what they love and they feel fulfilled in their career, they're making the income and the impacts that they want. They show up in the world as the best versions of themselves, and they show up in their home as the best versions of themselves, the best mother, the best wife. When I'm fulfilled in my career, I am the best version of me. And that is one of the reasons why I love helping women so much, because we are the heartbeat of the home, and our nervous systems and our happiness, it dictates the energy and nervous system of the entire home. So I love supporting women. It's just such a big passion of mine. So that's what I do. I've got my podcast, which has had over 26 million downloads. And I've got five best-selling books, all in the personal development, self-help, productivity, realm, all in that arena. And I run live events and workshops virtually and in person. And I just love supporting and sharing and helping women be the best versions of themselves in all areas of their life.
So can you take us back, Melissa, to where it all started in the expert industry? What got you started in this space? Like, what was the event, the trigger that where you started going, oh, wow, this could actually be a business? Because you've built quite a solid online following, especially on Instagram and some different platforms. And I'm curious, like, yeah, what was that moment like when you went, oh, wow, this could be a business?
It started in October 2010, and I was in hospital. And I was in hospital for a week with my immune system had completely shut down. I had a whole host of health issues, autoimmune issues, chronic fatigue, thyroid issues, all of like literally a cocktail of health issues.
Yeah.
Before that, I was actually a professional dancer and I did acting and TV presenting and modeling. And so I danced at the Moulin Rouge in Paris. I lived in London for 2 years and I performed on the West End and I loved it. And slowly I started to, and I did that professionally from as soon as I was about 15. When I was still at high school, I was working professionally in the industry. And then I did it till about 23, which is when I ended up in hospital. And like the passion and the love for like the last year of it had slowly started to dwindle. And I kept on getting these warning signs and these messages from the universe to kind of stop and slow down. And the way that I was living my life, burning the candle at both ends, partying, not taking care of myself at all, like living on 4 hours sleep and, just trashing my body. It was, all of these different little warning signs from the universe that I kept on ignoring until I had a really big wake-up call, which is when I ended up in hospital. And I was in hospital for a week and my mum and dad were there with me. And at this point, I just moved back from London when I didn't want to. I wanted to stay there. I had built a career there. I had, a boyfriend, some friends, I had a thriving life there and had to move home because of visa reasons. My boyfriend dumped me. My friends that were back in Australia dumped me. I had no job, no money. I was sleeping on my friend's sister's couch, like fold out little couch thing in her lounge room. It was like the bottom of bottoms. Like I was like, great, this is rock bottom. Awesome. And I was prescribed antidepressants by a doctor. And looking back, I know I wasn't depressed. I was just going through a really challenging time, And so when I was in hospital, these new friends that I just recently met at this thing called Kundalini Yoga that I'd started, and they sent me a care package to the hospital. And in the care package was a book that literally changed my life. And it was Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. And I remember reading it in the hospital bed and I turned to my mum and I was like, why have you not taught me this? Why did you not teach me that we create our own reality and that our thoughts and our words are so powerful? Like, why didn't you teach me this stuff? And she was like, oh, darling, I was doing the best that I could. And I'm like, yes, of course, you were, and you still are. And I love my parents so much. And I'm so grateful for the upbringing that I've had. But it was such a light bulb moment for me. And from that moment, I realized that God or the universe, whatever you believe in, didn't put us here to suffer. That we are here to be the fullest, most vibrant expression of ourselves, and that we're not here to suffer. And I literally, a switch just went off on me. It went off within me. And it was like, get healthy and happy again, and you'll live an amazing life. And so in that hospital bed, after I read that book, I made it my mission to get healthy and happy again. I read every personal development book I could possibly get my hands on. I went to Dr. John Demartini. I went to Tony Robbins. I went to every event that I could go to. I listened to everything. I studied holistic nutrition and life coaching and meditation. I got my certification in meditation and yoga teacher training and energy healing. And I became obsessed with this personal development and entrepreneurial world. And I started this thing called a blog. And so this was 2011 now. And I started this thing called a blog whilst I was doing my health and life coaching certification. And I began sharing what I was learning on my blog. I blogged 5 days a week. And then people would stop me in the street like I was a celebrity and say, Melissa, that post that you did on, the challenges that you've had with your inner critic, it changed my life or it saved my life. And people were stopping me in the street. This was pre-Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what? Like, I thought my mum just read my blog. Like, I was blown away. And then I began to get asked to speak. Like, my first speaking gig was with Lululemon Australia, and they
Yeah.
asked me to come and speak as a motivational speaker. And I was like, what? Like, you get paid for that? I'm like, what do you mean you get paid? And I was like, what do you want me to talk about? And they were like, share your story. And I was like, it's just like, what do you mean? Like, I'm so confused. And so I began speaking and then running my own workshops. And I was doing health and life coaching online and in person at the same time. And then literally HarperCollins Australia emails me and says, have you ever thought about writing a book? And that's how my first book deal came about for Mastering Your Mean Girl. And I started my podcast and it all just snowballed from there. Like, just everything's kind of snowballed from that one moment of like, surely we're not meant to suffer in this life. Like, surely there's another reason that we're here. That's been since, hitting rock bottom in October 2010. And I've just continued to show up. And then I started, after my blog, I opened a Facebook page, and then when Instagram came out, opened Instagram, and I've just been building my following from there. Like, I've been consistent. I've consistently showed up pretty much every single day since that moment for the last 14 years, when I first started. And I love what I do. And I truly believe that I was put on this earth to help others. And I feel like my career as a performer gave me the confidence. It was kind of like the dress rehearsal for what I was really meant to do in this life. And it gave me the confidence to be able to stand on a stage and speak and to hold myself. It taught me all of those amazing skills that still really support me in my career today. And it's just snowballed and snowballed from there. And over the years, it's just grown and grown, and this is where I'm at now, to having She Launch, which is the company that I shared with you before.
Yeah, I love that. So what I'm hearing is that, because one thing I've noticed with you, Melissa, is, and I wanted to explore this a little bit because I feel like for many of the listeners, it can be a challenge, is showing up consistently. Like, something that I really noticed with you, with your Instagram, obviously it started early on, right? With your blogs, with, anything you were building, you show up consistently and you've built a large following. But I think a lot of it is this kind of two elements. There is, you've been consistent, but you're obviously saying something that's resonating. And, like you were mentioning with your blogs, how people were stopping you and going, oh my gosh, I love that post. I'm curious about, when you think about building your personal brand, which I think you do really well, how do you think about it? Like, what are some of the non-negotiables you have in building your personal brand consistently? And also, what sort of like structures have you got in place to do that? Because I think everyone listening wants to build their personal brand.
Yes. I think this is such an important topic, and it's evolved over the years for me. So at the start, I shared everything. Pretty much. I kind of shared everything, and I wasn't really, niched. My tagline is, I'll help you become wildly wealthy, fabulously healthy, and bursting with love. So I'm talking about health, wealth, and love, three different types of niches. And the reason why I've always spoken about those three things is because they're the biggest three things that I'm so passionate about. Now, over the years, like fast forward now, I think because of the sheer volume of people online, we're needing to niche down a lot more. And so that affects your personal brand. So whatever you are selling, like whatever your offer is, that kind of has to align with your niching and your personal branding. And so there's like a twofold thing here. So for so many years, I've always shared so much of my life. I've shared so much. And then almost—
What does that mean? Like, can you give an example of what that means?
So
So much of your life.
I would share like everything, pretty much everything. I would share all about my health journey. I'd share about my business. I'd share about my relationships. It wasn't very niched down. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it wasn't just talking about business. I wasn't just talking about relationships. I wasn't just talking about health. But this also was very beneficial for me in my growth, because people loved hearing about all the different areas of my life. Then I had my daughter almost 4 years ago, and I consciously chose to not share her on social media.
Yep.
And so that has removed like a big chunk of my personal life.
That's interesting. Can I say that actually? That's interesting, because we don't either. We don't share anything about our kids or any photos really or anything. And I was actually looking at your Instagram before our interview, and I was like, I was looking because I know that you had a daughter, and I was like, where is she? Like, I was like looking for her. I was trying to get some more context, and I couldn't see her, and that makes sense now.
Yes. So yeah, before she came, I had a conversation with my husband, Nick, and it just was like this. It came to me in meditation, was like, no, don't share her on social media. It was a no. Like, I have some of my best friends share their children, and I have zero judgment.
Yeah.
That feels good for them. And I'm like, and I love seeing it. I'm like, show me more. Like, I love seeing it. It's so beautiful. But it was just this, I don't know, for me, it was just like this hard no. And so that removed such a huge part of my life. Like, you literally go through my camera roll on my phone and it's just all her. Like, I go to post content and I'm like, I don't have any content because it's just all her, all my daughter. So I have to like consciously make a conscious effort to get videos and photos without her in them, because she's just such a huge part of my life. And so then I got really clear on, okay, well, I'm really going to focus on the business and the mindset coaching with She Launch. And so I've kind of, really honed in on that and really niched down into that area. And it's been amazing, but I think as well, when you do niche down with who you're serving and also with your personal branding, you will lose people who were there for the content that you used to share, and you'll gain new people. And that's part of it, and that's okay. And I think everyone has a personal brand. Everyone can create a personal brand. And I think one of the best things that you can do is like ask yourself, what do I stand for? Like, what are my 3 to 4 core pillars that I'm going to share about? Like, is it business and mindset, business and motherhood, business and travel? I don't know. I'm just making these up. But and they're your core pillars that you only speak about. So you don't talk about the new lipstick that you just bought, because that doesn't fit into any of those themes. And I think now there's so many people out there that are just really niching down with who they serve and their personal brand, and it's doing really well. And on the flip side of that, Colin, there's people that share everything. Like Jenna Kutcher's a good example of that. Like, she shares business, marketing, and motherhood, and she does it in such a beautiful way. She does it in such an amazing way. And then there's like Amy Porterfield, who just does business and marketing and, doesn't share much about her personal life or anything like that. I mean, she shares a little bit, but I think there's like, you have to ultimately do what feels right and true for you, and getting clear on, okay, with my personal brand, these are the things that I'm going to speak about. These are the things that I'm not going to speak about and share about. Like, I'm not going to show my daughter. I'm not going to talk about my relationship with my husband. I'm not going to talk about health or whatever it is. And then that also makes content creation very easy, because even, you can just go, okay, these are my 3 core pillars. Let's create content around those 3 things. Or ideally, you want it to align with the niche of who you serve, because that's why they're following you. The content that you're sharing is resonating with them, and then ultimately it leads to your core offer.
You've got a lot going on in your life. I know you're building a house, which I know you shared publicly on social media. You're pregnant at the moment, which you announced. You broke your ankle the other week. You fell down the stairs. Obviously, you got your marriage, your daughter, you got a lot going on. What are some personal hacks that, even for you as a mum and a female business owner, that have really worked well for you in this season when you've got a lot going on? Like, what are some productivity things, maybe some non-negotiables that you have, some boundaries? Like, what are some things that come to mind that really work well for you?
Oh, okay. Get your pen and paper.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Nick and I wrote a book together, which came out last year, called Time Magic: Reclaim Your Time, Reclaim Your Life, which has every single one of our productivity, time magic, time management hacks in it. And the reason we wrote that book is because so many of our clients and our friends and family would say to us, how do you do it all? How do you have multiple businesses, build a house, still have time to go to the beach, still be present parents? Like, how do you do it all? And we would be like, but don't you have a system? Like, don't you know how to? And like, our friends would be like, no, teach us. And our clients would be like, teach us. And so we started teaching some of the productivity things that we do, like tick or flick, which I talk about in Time Magic, and some of these things. And people were like, oh my goodness, this has changed and saved my life and saved me so much time. And so I'll share a couple of them with you. That book last year won Best Business Book and Best Personal Development Book in Australia for 2023.
Come on.
Which is just,
congrats. That's awesome. That's amazing.
It's amazing. It's so amazing. So what we realized was so many people want this. So many people want to reclaim their time. The average person lives to 79 years. And when you take away work, when you take away 13 years of, online on emails and social media and, X amount of years sleeping, you're left with 1.2 years of your life to do what you love. And when Nick and I read that stat, we were like, excuse me? 1.2 years. Well, firstly, we're living way beyond 79. Yeah. And secondly, 1.2 years to do what you love, that is not okay with me.
That's not okay.
That is not okay. And so we started reclaiming our time and started doing, a bit of a time audit. And, we spend so many years of our life working. So why not do something that you love and bring joy into what you do? So we talk a lot about that in the book as well. But there are so many things that we do that really help us thrive. Now, we have personal self-care daily non-negotiables that allow us to be the best in business and the best as parents.
Can I say something on this? Because I feel like you show up with really good energy and a lot of energy. And so is that part of this, is like the self-care and all that sort of stuff? So keep going.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I want to say that before I had my daughter, my self-care, my morning routine was like 3 hours long.
Yes.
It's not 3 hours long anymore, my friends. No. It's not. And I just want everyone listening to go, okay, that's great. I'm not going to tell you to spend 3 hours in the morning. What I am going to say is that one of the best things you can do for your business and for your personal life is take some time for yourself first thing in the morning. For me, I only have one child at home. I have a stepson who is 18. He doesn't live with us anymore. I've got another one on the way. But I get up before she gets up and I do something for myself. I meditate for 20 minutes. I pray. I might do a little workout. I'm not doing that at the moment because I've got a broken ankle. But usually there is always a 20-minute meditation. And then because I can't do that when she's awake, and I can work out when she's awake. I can go for a walk when she's awake. I can be in nature when she's awake, but I can't meditate when she's awake because, it's just,
we get it.
It's not as fun. It's just like she's crawling all over me. So I wake up, I literally sit up in my bed and I meditate for 20 minutes and then I pray after. And then if she's still asleep, I'll move my body. So those are my two non-negotiables. Ideally, I would go outside and do a little workout. So I'm getting my feet on the grass or the sand and I'm getting the sun on my body and I'm getting the sun in my eyeballs, which wakes up my body. Just do little things like that. Maybe I write in my gratitude journal if she's still asleep. But the thing is like, I just am flexible and I just fit in what I can fit in. But absolutely, a meditation is non-negotiable with like some deep breathing. And then I can, when I'm driving, I do deep breathing whilst I'm driving, and when I'm standing in the kitchen, like making breakfast or whatever, I'll do some deep breathing. She does it with me. But the more you commit to yourself in the morning, first thing, no matter how many children you have, and it could literally just be 10 minutes. And it doesn't have to be long. And if your kids are awake, you ask your partner to take them so you can just sit and meditate for 10 minutes. What you're doing is you're setting yourself up for success. You're actually telling the universe that you matter. You're saying, I really love myself. I'm prioritizing my mental health and my happiness. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to meditate.
Are you a silent meditator, or do you listen to something, music, or what do you normally do?
I use a mantra. So I do Vedic meditation. So I just do a mantra in my mind, but I don't say anything. There's no music. There's nothing. Right. It's just me sitting up, doing my mantra for 20 minutes.
Nice.
And I do that. And then I am so much more at peace. I'm a better boss. I'm a better mother when I've taken that time for myself, that 20 minutes. If it's longer, great. If not, I've done my 20 minutes. And I'm not rigid. I'm not strict. Like if I don't get in everything I wanted to do, I just go, okay, like let me see where I can fit the workout in my day and get her involved and things like that. So that is number one. Self-care is number one. If you want your business and your life to thrive, like you've got to take time for yourself. Absolutely.
I think in the expert industry, especially because you are the product, obviously you sell online products and stuff, but it's like your energy is the product. That's like so crucial. What about business? What about like when you head into your business, what are some habits or strategies that have stayed with you over the years that you consistently do that really, if you look, if there was like only 3 things that you could choose, like what stand out for you as being things that really work well for you?
Yeah. Okay. So the first one, you start your day. We call them time magic tasks. These are your top 3 needle movers, your revenue driving tasks in your business. So I sit down at my desk. I look in my ClickUp. I use ClickUp, which is like a project management software. You can use Asana, Basecamp, Trello. Yeah. I look in my ClickUp and I'm like, what are my top 3 biggest needle moving things that I need to do today in my business? So I'm running a free workshop tomorrow. So one of the biggest things for me is I'm going to rehearse that virtual workshop. Yeah. And I'm going to make sure all my slides are good. So like, things like that. Emails are not a needle mover. Checking social media DMs are not needle movers. Scrolling social media, all of these things. And they're often the first things that people open and look at. And so what happens is we get into reactive mode. We're just reacting to emails. We're reacting to social media posts. So I love to create before I consume content. So I create the slides, or I create an Instagram post, or I create a podcast, or I create whatever it is I'm working before I consume anything else of anyone else's.
That's such a good point. That'll preach. Create before consume.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea. Love it. Keep going. Sorry, I interrupted that. I loved it.
I mean, I know, just try it. One day, wake up and just check your emails first thing, check social media, check all the things. And then another day, wake up and go and write a really inspiring Instagram post first and see how different you feel. You will feel so different. You just you get on that hamster wheel when you start checking straight away. And you feel like such a sense of satisfaction, and creativity flows so much more effortlessly when you create something for yourself and you're not on other people's timelines. So I always do that. So we call them, so I'll write down on a piece of paper my top 3 time magic tasks, and I will do those 3 things before I do anything else. So that's the first one. The second thing that I do is I only work 4 hours a day. So I have a nanny who comes to my house, and she looks after my daughter and they play. They've gone to the park or the library or something now. And because I only have 4 hours, I do not have time to procrastinate. I do not have time to scroll social media. I don't have time. And it forces me to be so productive. Like, I am way more productive than before I had my daughter, because I just get so much done. Like, my husband looks at me and he's like, you're a machine. Like, you are so focused. And I'm like, I just close the door. No one is to come in, and I just laser focus. Like, I record podcasts. I do everything that I need to do. And so that my second point is, like, if you do have children, get support or structure around when you do work and when you don't work. Because I do have friends who they're working when their kids, they don't have support. And so they're on their phone while their kids are playing at the park, and they tell me that it doesn't feel good. And then their child is always like, get off your phone, mama, get off your phone. And they're half-heartedly doing things because they don't have support. So if you have children, get support and then put a structure in place, like for when you work and when you don't work. I know when I work and I know when I don't work. So as soon as my 4 hours is up, that's it. My computer is closed, my phone is off, and then maybe, like, you know, in the afternoon, my husband might play with her for like 30 minutes, and then I can check back in and then go, okay, I need to respond to this, this, and this from my team. Or when she goes to bed, I might do a little bit more responding. But that's a really big piece, is like, work out when you're working, when you're not working, get some support and put some structure around it. That's really important. Like, when do you check emails? When do you check your Slacks? When do you check those things? That's going to help you really thrive in both your business and in your life, because there's no blurred lines, you know. I'm working now and then I'm not working. And
that is hard as well as an expert, because it's like, wherever you are, obviously you got your phone, you know, you are your business, and you're on social media sharing your life to a level, you know, that you're comfortable with. It's challenging finding those lines in terms of building that. I'm curious about your team, Melissa. I know you've been doing this for, you know, over 10 years now. How's your team evolved? What does your team look like? Because we've got a whole range of people listening to this. We've got people running $1 million businesses like yourself, and we've got people who are just starting out. I'd love to know a little bit of a journey about your team and how that's looked.
So my first ever hire was a virtual assistant, and her name was Tina, and I shared her with one of my best friends. So one of my best online digital besties, we shared her. And so she did like X amount of hours for me a week and X amount of hours for her. I can't remember how much she cost, like maybe $15.
Was she Philippines or she was Australia?
She was in the Philippines. Yeah, she was awesome. And that was my first ever hire. And I teach this inside She Launch. Like, a virtual assistant is one of the best first hires.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. Because they take off your plate all of those little things that you're doing that you don't necessarily need to be doing, that allow you to then do more creating and for you to be more in your zone of genius. So that was my first ever hire. And then, like, I did a swap with a friend who was a graphic designer. I cooked him dinner while he made my logo and my website, you know. So that, you know, it started grassroots, really, really grassroots. Over the years, like, I've had contractors, so like web developer contractors and different designers and copywriters and video editors and podcast editors. But now the team is quite large because of She Launch. So we have a whole sales team now with about 3 sales coaches. We've got 4 expert coaches inside She Launch. So we've got a sales expert coach, and we've got an offer and niching coach, and we've got 2 other success coaches in there. And then I've got a copywriter. I've got designers that we contract out to that don't work for us full time. Yeah. We've got a virtual assistant.
Obviously, you got customer service.
Yes.
You've got coaches. What about your social media? Because I know you do a lot of social media. Like, do you have help with that? I'm curious.
No, but I really need to. I really need to. So we use ManyChat for a lot of our funnels.
Yes, but I mean your content, like your reels and your videos, and is that very much you? Like, you're building all of that?
Yes, so I do have a social media. I don't even know what her title is, but she kind of like will work out. Okay, so we're launching She Launch.
Yeah.
We need to do X amount of reels. So she'll create ideas with me. Sometimes, yeah, she'll create the ideas with me. Sometimes she gives recommendations of like, film a video like this, like of you walking and then using like maybe this trending audio. I write all of that. In terms of like responding to all of the DMs, I'm going to go on maternity leave when this baby comes. So I'm going to have maybe my assistant jump in there, not as me, but like, say, hey, this is Donna, and just support me there a little bit because I'm going to be going on maternity leave for a little bit. But no, I still do all of my own social media. I still post myself. I still edit the videos myself. I still do all of that. But I actually really enjoy that. I really, really enjoy the creative process of, filming the video or finding the video and then, putting the captions on it and trimming it and cutting it. And like, I really enjoy that. But
you've got a very strong aesthetic like ability. I can tell, like obviously with, even the stuff you're building with your house and how you brand yourself, like aesthetics is obviously something that either you've worked on hard or it comes quite natural to you. Like you have a great eye for brand. Has that been something you've developed, or how has that evolved?
That's a good question. I've always loved beautiful things. And I think as a woman, like beauty and beauty equals pleasure. Like even women, there's so much science around beautiful spaces for women. Like when our home is ordered and neat and tidy, what that actually does to our nervous system. And so that's why so many women are like, I love a clean home and I love it when it's neat and tidy. And maybe it doesn't affect men as much, but for women, it actually affects our nervous system. And so for me, I think I've always had such an eye for beauty. Like I've loved beautiful things. I've always taken care of my things. I've always like really loved that. Like I loved art at school. I was really good at art at school. And I think it's just always been part of me. And then like, it's also because I do my own social media, I look at it and I see and I'm like, oh, and I've just gotten better at like using my camera myself and wanting to learn. Like I've like done little photography courses and things like that, just purely because I love it and I want to take better photos of my daughter.
Totally. Which you don't share.
Oh, I know. There's so many beautiful ones. But yeah, I think just wanting to, take better quality photos and videos for myself. And then that's really helped. But I'm such a learner. I've always been a student for life. And there's so many, just the iPhones now can take such great photos. And you can just look online on like how to take better iPhone photos. And there's so much up there.
From a mindset perspective, because I know you teach a lot of mindset, it's been part of your messaging the whole way through. What have been some personal fears or limiting beliefs that you've personally had to break through, and how do you help other people process and move past limiting beliefs?
So I have a process which I'll share with you. It's called the CAST process. And this is to help cast aside your inner critic. And I did a TED talk on this.
Nice.
And this is what my whole book, Mastering Your Inner Mean Girl, is all about. So the process is CAST is an acronym and C stands for character. And I want you to create a little character for that inner critic that we all have. And this is the thing, everyone has that voice inside their head. Everyone has that voice that says, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, no one's going to buy the product, who do you think you are, you'll never get out of debt, you'll never meet the guy. Everybody has that voice. And some people's is just louder, a lot louder than others. But the fact is like we all have that voice, right? And so when we create a little character, it helps separate it from the truth of who you are. So the truth of who you are is not those fears. You are not those fears. You are love. You are like an infinite, amazing, beautiful being that was born into this world for a reason. And so create a little character. So mine is like a little version of me. She sits on my right shoulder. She's wearing a little devil outfit with a pitchfork, and she's mean. You know, she tells me, no one's going to buy this. Who do you think you are? You know, if you get too successful, people are going to tear you down. You know, all of those things. And when we create that character, it helps separate it from the truth. So the first step in the cast process is you create a character for that little voice. Okay. And it can be you, it can be someone else. And I want you to give it a name. One of my friends, hers is like her librarian from school when she was in primary school. That's hers. And yeah, she's called Miss Kathy. So you can call it whatever you want, but create a little character. Then the next step in the cast process is we want to become aware of when she is talking and when she gets triggered. He or she. What is she saying to you on repeat? Like, you'll never get out of debt, or who do you think you are, trying to write a book, or no one's going to buy your offer? You know, whatever it is, write down all of the things that she or he is on repeat. So A stands for awareness. That is, we have to become aware of what she's saying. Okay. Then the third step, S, stands for we're going to shut that door. So instead of inviting her into your world and letting her sleep over and have dinner and run your life and ruin your life and sit in the driver's seat of your life, you're going to say, no, thank you. I'm not interested today. And we close the door. Think of it like an annoying salesperson who comes knocking on your door to like sell you something every single day. Like, you'd be like, not interested today. Thank you so much. Like, bye. I want you to do that to that voice. Not interested today. Thank you. See you later. So we shut the door. And then the fourth step, the fourth letter T, stands for truth. You come back to the truth of who you are, which is love, which is an infinite being, which is pure potential you are. And when we can come back to that place, we realize that all the dialogue that was going on is actually not even true. But so many people believe it to be true because they think it is them when it's not actually them. And they get sucked in and they let that voice sit in the driver's seat of their life and just dictate every move that they make. And I've been there. You know, I have been there, and it's not a fun place to be. It's, you know, that victim mentality. Why me? Poor me. Everything is happening to me instead of for me, for my growth and evolution. And it's just such a different way to live. So coming back to your question, like, what fears have I had? I've had them all.
Yeah, totally.
I've experienced all of them. But I'm at a place now where I can quickly catch them because I've, you know, strengthened this muscle. I can quickly catch those fears and become aware of them, and I write it down, and then I shut the door on it, and then I come back into the truth and I come back into my heart very, very quickly. But that doesn't mean they don't still pop up for me. They do. They just don't linger as much as they used to.
I love that. That's a really powerful process. We'll definitely share that with our audience, and I can imagine that little character as you were telling it. It's really cool process. Melissa, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. For those people who have listened to you and really resonated with you, what's the best place for them to get in contact, to check out what you do, all that sort of stuff? I know obviously they can go to Melissa Ambrosini on Instagram. Can you direct us to where to go?
Yes, come and tell me on Instagram at Melissa Ambrosini what you got from this episode. I would love to hear. I'd love to hear what really resonated with you. So come and share that with me. And also my website, melissaambrosini.com, for all my books. And my podcast is called The Melissa Ambrosini Show. But if you want to join She Launch, you go to shelaunch.com, and I'd love to offer you a free strategy call. So it's totally free to come and see if we are the right fit for each other. You'll get an amazing strategy call with one of my elite coaches to see if we're the right fit. And you can just go to shelaunch.com to book that call in. I'd love to offer that to your beautiful listeners. So
good. Melissa, hey, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. There's been tons of value here. I love watching you grow your business and your family. And I'm excited to continue connecting together. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.